Hi everybody, Debbie Hoyt here again to do another blog with you, a vlog or whatever they call these things. So last week we started to talk a little bit about bullying, and one of the things I do want to get into is how do we empower our students. Hopefully they all came home and talked quite a bit about the Sweethearts and Heroes workshop that we had last Friday. Everybody saw the same presentation. Both Tom and Rick, who were here, were very impressed with the students we had and the things that we have in place. I'm not sure. There was about 60 students, about 20 to 25 from each grade level, who got to work with Tom and Rick in small groups to hopefully spread the word as to how to empower students. In a variety of situations. You know, they even said that they kind of come in as bullying, but that's not kind of their goal. Their goal is to give people hope and to empower students, which I think is really important. You know, how do we give students skills? Because whether it be bullying, whether it be based an adverse situation based on gender, based on your sex, based on the beliefs that you have, really, we want to make sure that people have skills to empower themselves and to take care of themselves because, you know, as I mentioned last week, on a daily basis we have adverse interactions with people, adverse feelings, adverse situations. So really it's important to make sure that our kids have skills in order to deal with those situations so that way they can live fulfilling lives and continue to have hope. So as I said last week, one of the first areas that we're going to talk about is bullying. And before we talk about how to empower students, I do want to talk about a little bit about what bullying is. Unfortunately, we all come into interactions with people who are bullies, even as adults. So this is breaking it down. I'm going to make it very easy. There's three different pieces. You know, there's tons of research out there about what a bully is, what makes a bully, what is a bullying situation, but I'm going to break it down into three easy pieces that really, when I work with kids, you know, when they think about it, whether they're the bullies, whether they're the victim of bullying, but really when we come down to it, three easy pieces. First piece is the interaction intentional? So that's pretty big. There's an intent to do harm by the other person. We do have teasing. There are things, sometimes we put our foots in our mouths, sometimes we make a joke in poor taste. There's all different times that we've all done it ourselves, and you know, we feel guilty or we have empathy or we apologize afterwards. But with bullying, there is an intent to do intentional harm. The second piece is it's repeated over time. Again, a situation, you say something, somebody says, hey, I don't like that, please stop, whatever it may be. If they stop and they move on, or they go, you walk away from them and they go in a different direction, that's not repeated over time. That isn't considered bullying. And then the third piece that's really important to remember is there an imbalance of power? And this sometimes gets a little tricky when it comes to especially cyberbullying, because I think we all know that we can recreate ourselves on the internet. We can be whoever we want to be. And for a lot of people, they can say whatever they want to say. There is freedom of speech, but, you know, a lot of times when I know administration or kids come to me and say, hey, look at this is bullying, and when it's a back and forth and when they say something that's not nice, and then another student says something back in turn, and then it goes back and forth, there really is no imbalance of power at that point. So that is another term that we have to look at when it comes to bullying, and I'll talk a little bit about cyberbullying and what to do about that in the coming weeks. So when you think about bullying, those are the things we want to think of. And as kind of your homework assignment as a parent, one of the things that came up at the parent piece was parents talked about how their kids are still afraid to say or do something, which is totally understandable because even us as adults in situations don't always want to intervene because we don't know the people. Tom and Rick gave some of the kids some strategies, but one of the pieces that came up that was really important, that I think is important, is also what are we doing as role models? So a lot of times, even myself as a mom will practice things at home We'll role play at home. But what do we do when we're out in the community? So if you happen to see something that is, is wrong or even dangerous in the community, what are you doing? And I'm not saying that you as the adult may walk up and intervene because, again, you have to think of your own safety, the safety of your family. But do you happen to, excuse me, do you happen to kind of keep an eye on things, like if it happens to escalate? Do you call the authorities who are trained to deal with things such as this? If it's in your workplace or in your home or you see your kids doing things, do you intervene and talk to them? So thinking about those behaviors that that our kids are watching us. So what are you doing outside of the house, outside of those role plays to kind of show the students, because that's how they learn too. We can talk about it. We can practice it in our households. I can practice it in this office. But once they cross that threshold, they're really not generalizing what we've talked about and what's been discussed. And to do something for the first time for anything is very scary. So to have kind of that support with you, when you think about when maybe we were younger and they talked about bullying, they talked about, being in a group. That group mentality can sometimes be helpful. But think about, as an adult, what do you do when you're in the community and when you're with your kids and you're faced with an adverse reaction? What types of behaviors are you modeling? Even though they may be totally scary and absolutely kind of insane and chaotic, how are you modeling your behaviors to show your kid what can be done? Are you doing the same thing that you and your kids have talked about in home? So that's really important, something that even I had to think about. So that's kind of this week's blog and kind of a tiny homework assignment for you to think about. Next week, we'll talk more about how we can empower our kids when they're faced with whether it be bullying or any type of adverse interaction or situation. Before I close, I wanted to let everyone know that our Blue Duke Care Closet, which helps provide right now food for families who are food insecure, kind of have like a food pantry here at the school, so kids for long weekends and vacations, and even short weekends, regular weekends, can definitely have some food in their house. On October 13th, Arnie's up on Loudon Road, the Blue Duke Care Closet is the lucky recipient of their almost free day. So from October 13th, from about 11 till about 4 o'clock, whenever the ice cream runs out, I hope you can make it up to Arnie's and make a donation for some ice cream. Get your last ice cream of the season. And whatever you donate for your ice cream is going to go directly into the RMS Care Closet. So I hope to see you guys all there, and have a great long weekend. Bye.